Blood pooled black on the asphalt. Derek Walsh's headlights caught her. A broken body sprawled across the empty road, fingers clutching something she wouldn't release. His 8-year-old son slept in the back seat, safe and dreaming, while his father knelt beside a stranger who shouldn't have been there. Her hand found his, pressed something small and cold into his palm. Her lips moved, words coming out fractured, desperate, shattered, meant for someone else. Then her grip went slack. Derek should have forgotten her face by morning, should have left everything behind. But some things refuse to be forgotten. Some nights don't let a man drive home like nothing happened. And when the past starts knocking at doors long sealed shut, it never knocks gently. It comes with weight, with consequences that stretch beyond one roadside, one dying woman, one choice made in darkness. Some roads, once stepped onto, offer no way back. The radio had been playing something forgettable when Derek saw her. He'd worked a double shift, hands still stiff from wrestling with the transmission. The highway stretched empty ahead, nothing but darkness. Randy's breathing came steady from the back seat, that peaceful rhythm only children managed. Then the headlights found her. Derek's foot hit the brake. The truck shuddered to a stop, rubber burning against asphalt. In the rearview mirror, Randy stirred but didn't wake. Derek killed the engine, left the hazards blinking red, and stepped out into the October cold. She lay wrong, limbs bent at angles that made his stomach turn. Blood spread slow beneath her, catching his hazard lights. Designer clothes shredded by violence. Derek knelt, pulled his phone out. Punched 911. The operator's voice crackled through as he pressed 2 fingers to the woman's throat. There. Faint, but there. I need an ambulance, Derek said, giving the mile marker. Woman, 30s, severe trauma. Barely breathing. His attention snagged on her hand, fingers locked around something small that caught the light wrong. Her eyes opened. Just slits of awareness fighting through pain. They found Derek's face with desperate intensity. Her lips moved, then barely a whisper. Hide it! Her fingers loosened. The small object rolled into Derek's palm, cold and sharp-edged. They're coming. Then her eyes rolled back, and the awareness fled. A USB drive. Black plastic, no markings. The operator was still talking, asking about sirens. Derek could hear them now. Distant wail growing closer. He should have dropped the drive right there. Instead, his fingers closed around it, and he shoved it deep in his jacket pocket. The ambulance arrived with a deputy behind it. Derek stepped back as paramedics swarmed her. The deputy took his statement. Expected questions, careful answers. Derek left out the USB drive burning a hole in his pocket. When asked if he'd touched anything, he said no. The lie came easier than expected. They let him go after 20 minutes. Derek drove home with his hands too tight on the wheel. Randy slept through all of it. Derek carried him inside, tucked him into bed, stood in his son's doorway watching the rise and fall of small shoulders beneath Batman sheets. Everything he had left to lose. In his bedroom, Derek pulled out the drive and held it to the lamplight. Just black plastic and secrets locked inside. He should throw it away. Instead, he hid it in his sock drawer, beneath 10 years of memories he didn't look at anymore. Sleep didn't come easy that night. The morning arrived gray and cold. Derek made breakfast for Randy and tried not to think about the drive hidden upstairs. He dropped Randy at school, then drove to the garage. Walsh Auto Repair looked like it always did. Single bay, peeling paint, a sign that needed replacing 5 years ago. The day passed in the usual rhythm. Oil changes, brake jobs, botched transmissions. Every time his phone buzzed, his heart jumped. By 5 o'clock, nothing had happened. Derek was wiping down his tools when his phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Walsh? A woman's voice, professional, controlled, with stress underneath. My name is Cassandra Pierce. I believe you found me last night on Highway 47. Derek's hand stopped moving. You're awake. I am. Against all medical advice. A pause. Do you still have it? The drive? Every instinct told him to hang up. Instead, he heard himself say, Yeah. Thank God. The relief was palpable. I need you to keep it safe. Don't look at what's on it. Don't plug it into anything. Just keep it hidden. Can you do that? Why? Because the men who put me on that road are looking for it, and now they'll come looking for you too. She said it matter of fact. I'm in Mercy General, room 314. Can you come here? Tonight? I'll explain everything, but not over the phone. Derek should have said no. Should have told her to go to the police. What time? 7. Side entrance near the emergency room. It'll be unlocked. A pause. Thank you, Mr. Walsh. You may have saved my life. I'm sorry it's about to complicate yours. She hung up before he could ask what that meant. Derek picked up Randy at 6, made dinner, and told Mrs. Chen he had to run an errand. The old woman had been watching Randy on short notice since the divorce, asked no questions. Derek owed her about 1,000 favors by now. Mercy General loomed against the evening sky. Derek found the side entrance, tried the door, found it unlocked. He took the stairs to the 3rd floor, found room 314 at the end of a quiet corridor. Cassandra Pierce looked better than she had last night. She sat propped in the hospital bed, face still swollen, butterfly bandages above her left eyebrow, right arm in a sling. But her eyes were alert, sharp. This wasn't just some victim. This was someone used to being in control. Mr. Walsh, thank you for coming. She gestured to the chair. We need to talk quickly. That USB drive contains evidence of corporate fraud, money laundering, and possibly treason. My brother Gregory has been embezzling from Pierce Technologies for 4 years. $1.8 billion. But that's not the interesting part. Derek waited. He's been funding surveillance software, the kind that tracks dissidents, activists, journalists, selling it to foreign governments with terrible human rights records, using my company's name. Her jaw tightened. I found out 3 weeks ago, started gathering evidence. That drive is my insurance policy. I was meeting with a federal prosecutor I trust, but Gregory found out. Sent people to stop me. So why not go to the police? Because Gregory has people everywhere, in law enforcement, in government. I don't know who I can trust. She shifted, wincing. Here's where you come in. I need protection for 7 days while I recover enough to make the handoff myself. Not through a security company. Gregory owns them. Someone off the grid. Someone he doesn't know about. I'm a mechanic. You're Derek Walsh, former bounty hunter, Skip Tracer Incorporated in Denver. 8 years, 97% success rate. Quit 10 years ago after Patrick Hughes died. Something like sympathy flickered across her face. The name hit Derek like a fist. He stood fast. How do you know that name? Background check. You've kept a low profile, Mr. Walsh, but the records are there. Cassandra's voice gentled. I need someone with your skills. Someone who knows how to track people. Avoid being tracked. Fight when necessary. I don't do that anymore. I know. You made a vow after an innocent man died. But Gregory's people know you have the drive now. They'll start digging. They'll find out about Randy. She reached for a business card. 7 days, $500,000. And I'll make sure Randy is protected too. I'll hire someone I trust to keep him safe, while you keep me safe. Derek didn't take the card. He was thinking about Randy at Mrs. Chen's right now, completely unaware that his father had just painted a target on both their backs. Thinking about Patrick Hughes, about the social worker who'd taken Patrick's son away afterward, about how he'd sworn never to destroy another family. I can't protect you and Randy at the same time. I know. That's why I'll handle Randy's security separately. Hank Morrison used to work with you at Skip Tracer. Lives on a farm 2 hours from here. I already called him. He's willing to take Randy for a week, keep him safe, no questions asked. Cassandra's eyes never left his face. I did my homework. I know this asks you to break every promise you made. But you're my best chance. Maybe my only chance. Derek took the card. 7 days. 7 days. Then this is over, and you never hear from me again. He left without another word. Sat in his truck for 10 minutes, hands on the wheel. The smart play was to run. The safe play. But smart and safe hadn't been an option the moment he'd knelt beside Cassandra on that dark highway. Some roads, once stepped onto, offered no way back. He drove home thinking about Patrick Hughes and the vow he'd made that day. Some vows were easier to make than keep. The next morning came too fast. Over breakfast, Derek tried to figure out how to explain this. "Hey buddy, remember Uncle Hank? How'd you like to spend a week at his farm?" Randy's eyes lit up. "The one with the chickens? Really? What about school?" "I'll call them. 1 week won't hurt." Derek hated lying to his son. "I've got important jobs at the garage, but I'll call every night." They left by 9, Derek's truck loaded with Randy's things and a duffel bag containing things he hadn't touched in 10 years. A Glock 19, tactical knife, zip ties, burner phone. Tools of a trade he'd left behind. Hank's farm appeared 2 hours later, accessible only by a long gravel road. Hank came out to meet them, 60 years old. Hair silver, but still carrying himself like someone you didn't want to cross. Derek Walsh. Been a long time. Randy followed Hank to see the chickens while Derek and Hank talked. "Cassandra Pierce gave me the broad strokes," Hank said quietly. "Sounds like the old days. The old days got people killed." "Patrick Hughes," Hank said it blunt. "You've been carrying that for 10 years. Maybe it's time to put it down. I'll keep Randy safe. No one knows about this place. Go do what you need to do. Your boy will be here when you get back." The black sedan arrived to take Derek back to the hospital. He hugged Randy goodbye, longer than usual, and made promises about calling every night. Randy waved from the porch, already distracted by a chicken. Derek used the drive to slip back into old patterns, assess threats, identify escape routes. Calculate angles. The skills came back easier than expected, muscle memory that hadn't forgotten. Cassandra was dressed when he reached her room, wearing jeans and a sweater. A woman in her 50s stood beside the bed, expensive suit, silver hair. "Mr. Walsh, this is Patricia Hughes, my attorney. She's arranged everything for the cabin." Derek's attention snagged on the last name. "Hughes? No relation," Patricia said. "Cassandra briefed me. I've arranged a car, supplies, secure communications, cash." They moved through the hospital like ghosts, taking service elevators and back stairwells. Patricia led them to the garage, a nondescript Honda. Derek drove for 40 minutes before switching to a Jeep Cherokee Patricia had arranged. Then they headed northwest into isolated country. The cabin appeared 2 hours later, set back from a dirt road, surrounded by pines. Single-story, weathered wood, smoke curling from the chimney. Derek cleared the interior room by room, hand on his Glock. 3 rooms, living area with kitchenette, bedroom, bathroom, supplies stocked, firewood ready. A generator hummed outside. "It'll do," Derek said. Cassandra lowered herself onto the couch. "So, 7 days. What's the plan?" "Day 1, make sure no one followed us. Perimeter checks. Early warnings. Days 2 through 6, we keep our heads down. Day 7, you meet your prosecutor, and we're done." "And if Gregory's people find us?" Derek's hand drifted to the Glock. "Then I do what I used to be good at." Night fell fast. Derek made simple dinner from canned goods, soup and bread. They ate in silence, Cassandra drowsy from medication, Derek listening to sounds outside, cataloging what belonged and what didn't. After dinner, he checked the perimeter, walked a wide circle around the cabin. All normal. All as it should be. He came back to find Cassandra asleep on the couch. Derek covered her with a blanket, then settled into a chair where he could watch the door and window. The Glock lay on his thigh. This was going to be a long 7 days. The first 3 days passed without incident, which only made Derek more tense. He spent the days maintaining vigilance, perimeter walks every 4 hours, checking the road for tire tracks, monitoring news for reports about Cassandra or Pierce Technologies. Cassandra worked one-handed on a laptop, preparing her case, documenting every connection. The USB drive stayed in Derek's pocket. On day 3, Derek called Randy. The boy's excited voice filled his ear with stories about chickens, about learning to fish, about driving the ATV. Normal kid stuff. Safe kid stuff. "When are you coming to get me, Dad?" "4 more days, buddy. Then we'll go home and everything goes back to normal. I like it here. But I miss you. I miss you too, Randy. More than you know." Day 4. That's when things started to fall apart. Derek woke at dawn, Glock still on his lap. Cassandra was making coffee, moving better now, swelling down, bruises fading. "We should talk about the handoff," she said. Patricia arranged a meeting for day 7. Restaurant in the city. Midtown, lunch crowd. Lots of witnesses, lots of exits. That's when Derek's burner phone rang. Unknown number. He answered, already knowing this was bad. Derek Walsh. A man's voice, smooth and educated, with amusement underneath. "You don't know me, but I know you. Former bounty hunter, current mechanic, single father to young Randy, 8 years old, currently staying at a farm 2 hours northwest, with your friend Hank Morrison." Every muscle in Derek's body went rigid. Cassandra saw his face change. "Who is this?" "You can call me Gregory. I believe you have something of mine." The amusement faded, replaced by something colder. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to bring Cassandra and that USB drive to me, today. Alone. If you do, everyone walks away. If you don't, I have people at that farm right now. They'll wait for my call. If they don't hear from me by 6 p.m., they go in. And Hank Morrison won't be able to stop what happens next." Derek's hand tightened on the phone. "You touch my son, I won't. Not if you cooperate." "But I need that evidence, Mr. Walsh. You make this easy. Everyone lives. You make it hard. Well, you're a father. I'm sure you understand stakes when your child is involved." The line went dead. Derek stood there for 3 heartbeats, phone still pressed to his ear, rage and fear fighting in his head. Then he lowered the phone, looked at Cassandra, and said quietly, "He has Randy's location." Her face went pale. "How? Does it matter?" Derek was already moving, grabbing his jacket, checking the Glock's magazine. "Full. He wants us both. If I don't deliver by 6 p.m., his people go into Hank's farm. Then we call the police. And tell them what? By the time they sort through jurisdiction, it'll be 6:01, and Randy will be gone." Derek shoved the Glock into his waistband. "No, we do this my way. I give Gregory what he wants. Sort of." He spent the next 30 minutes planning. Called Hank first, warned him threats were incoming, told him to arm up and be ready. Hank's response was short and reassuring. Then Derek called Patricia, gave her instructions that made her swear, but eventually agree. The trap was simple. Gregory wanted the drive and Cassandra. Derek would bring both, but not the real drive. Patricia had access to Cassandra's files, could make a duplicate with just enough real data to pass a cursory check. It would buy them time, maybe an hour, before Gregory realized he'd been fooled. An hour was all Derek needed. "This is insane," Cassandra said. "Gregory will kill you the moment he realizes it's fake." "Probably. But he'll do it in person, which means his people won't be at Hank's farm. Which means Randy stays safe." Derek checked the tactical knife in his boot. That's all that matters. And what about you? Derek didn't answer. He was thinking about Patrick Hughes again, about how maybe this was how you paid for your mistakes, by walking straight into consequences and hoping you were fast enough to come out the other side. They left the cabin at 2 p.m. Derek drove with controlled aggression, heading toward the warehouse district Gregory had specified. Old buildings, isolated, perfect place for what Gregory had planned. Derek parked 2 blocks away, approached on foot with Cassandra beside him. "Stay behind me," Derek said, drawing the Glock. "When things go bad, and they will, you run. Patricia's people will be waiting 3 blocks south in a blue van. Derek, promise me." Cassandra looked at him, then nodded. "I promise." They entered the warehouse. The interior was cavernous, old machinery and shadows, smell of rust and decay. Light filtered through broken windows, creating columns of dust that didn't quite reach the floor. "Mr. Walsh, right on time." Gregory Pierce stepped from behind a support pillar, flanked by 2 men in tactical gear. He looked like his sister, same bone structure, same sharp eyes. But where Cassandra had warmth, Gregory had only cold calculation. "And dear sister, looking better." "Gregory," Cassandra's voice was steady, "this doesn't have to end badly. Give yourself up." "Please," Gregory waved dismissively. "I've built an empire. You should have stayed out of it." His attention shifted to Derek. "The drive, Mr. Walsh." Derek held up the fake USB drive. "First, you call off your people at the farm. I hear my son's voice. Then you get this." Gregory smiled, pulled out a phone, tapped the screen. Speaker on. Ringing. Then a voice. "Sir?" "Status on the farm." "Watching. No move made. Waiting for your order." Gregory looked at Derek, eyebrow raised. "Satisfied? The drive?" This was the moment. Derek knew once he handed over the fake, the clock started ticking. He had to be ready. He tossed the drive to Gregory's chest, making him fumble. In that half-second, Derek moved. He'd positioned himself carefully, putting a support pillar between himself and Gregory's men. Now he used it, pivoting behind cover as he brought the Glock up. The first shot caught the tactical guy on the left in the shoulder. The second missed, but made the guy on the right dive for cover. Gregory dropped to the ground. "Run!" Derek shouted at Cassandra. She was already moving, sprinting for the exit. One of Gregory's men tried to cut her off. Derek put 2 rounds center mass. The man went down. Then it was chaos. Gunfire echoed through the warehouse, muzzle flashes and shadows. Derek moved from cover to cover, firing when he had targets. The old skills came back like breathing. Track the targets. Control your breath. Squeeze. Don't pull. The wounded tactical guy was back up, returning fire. Derek rolled left, came up firing, caught the guy in the leg. He went down screaming. The second guy was smarter, staying mobile, using machinery as cover. Derek's magazine ran dry. He dropped it, slammed in a fresh one. The second tactical guy was flanking him. Derek moved deeper into the warehouse, making the guy work for it. Then Derek's boot hit something slick. Oil, probably. His foot went out. He went down hard. The Glock skittering away. The tactical guy saw his chance, stepped out with his weapon raised. Derek's hand found the tactical knife in his boot. He threw it without thinking. The blade caught the guy in the throat. He dropped. Derek scrambled for the Glock, spun looking for more targets. The warehouse had gone quiet. 2 men down. Gregory somewhere in the shadows. "Impressive, Mr. Walsh," Gregory's voice echoed. "But you've made a critical error. My people at the farm, they're moving in right now." Derek pulled out his burner with his offhand, keeping the Glock pointed into darkness. Dialed Hank. It rang once, twice. "Yeah," Hank's voice, calm. "Status. All quiet. Randy's in the basement like you said. No movement." "Why?" Relief flooded through Derek. Gregory said he sent people. "He's lying. Either way, we're good here. Derek pocketed the phone. Your people aren't at the farm, Gregory. Want to try another lie? Silence. Then, from a different location. The drive you gave me is fake. Correct. Then we're at an impasse. Derek saw him then, Gregory moving between machines, heading for a side exit. Derek could take the shot. Center mass. Drop him. End this. His finger tightened on the trigger, but something stopped him. The vow he'd made 10 years ago. Shooting an unarmed man in the back would make him exactly what he'd promised himself he'd never be again. Gregory Pierce, stop moving or I will fire. Gregory froze, slowly raised his hands, turned to face Derek. In the dim light, he looked smaller. Just a man, scared and desperate. You won't shoot me. You're not that person anymore. I was that person for 8 years. I can be that person for 30 more seconds if I need to be. Derek kept the Glock trained on Gregory's center mass. On the ground, face down, hands behind your head. Gregory hesitated, then complied. Knelt, then prone, hands laced. Derek approached carefully, kicked Gregory's phone away, checked him for weapons, found a small pistol in an ankle holster. Amateur. Derek zip-tied Gregory's hands behind his back, then his ankles. Then he called Patricia. It's done! Gregory's secured. Send the police! He rattled off the address. And ambulances. I've got 2 men down. Cassandra? Safe. Should be with your people by now. And you? Derek looked down at Gregory Pierce, trussed up on the warehouse floor. Looked at the bodies of men who'd tried to kill him. Looked at his own hands, steady despite everything. I'm okay. It's over. But it wasn't. Not quite. The police arrived 20 minutes later, lights and sirens filling the warehouse with chaos. Derek had already secured the scene, checked the 2 tactical guys for vitals. One dead, the one he'd hit in the throat with the knife, the other alive but in bad shape, the shoulder and leg wounds bleeding despite Derek's attempts at first aid. Ambulances followed the police, paramedics swarming the wounded. Derek gave his statement to a detective who looked like she'd seen everything and believed nothing. Told her about Gregory's threats, about the evidence on the USB drive that was currently still in Derek's pocket, about how this was self-defense and defense of another. She listened, took notes, told him not to leave town. The real USB drive Derek handed to a federal prosecutor who arrived an hour later, flanked by people in FBI windbreakers. The prosecutor was the woman Cassandra had originally been trying to reach. 50s, sharp-eyed, with the look of someone who'd spent a career putting away people who thought they were above the law. She took the drive with careful hands, had Derek sign chain of custody paperwork, promised him this would be enough to put Gregory Pierce away for decades. What about his people at the farm? Derek asked. The ones he claimed to have watching my son. We're already moving on that location. If anyone's there, we'll pick them up. She looked at Derek with something like sympathy. You did good work here, Mr. Walsh. You should be proud. Derek didn't feel proud. He felt exhausted and hollow, and like he'd crossed a line he'd sworn he'd stay behind. But Randy was safe. That was all that mattered. Cassandra found him as the sun was setting, emergency lights still painting the warehouse walls in red and blue. She'd been checked by paramedics, given a blanket despite the October cold not really requiring one. She looked at Derek for a long moment without speaking. Thank you, she finally said. For everything. For risking yourself. For not... She glanced at where they were loading Gregory into a police car, hands still zip-tied. For not killing him. I know you could have. I'm not that person anymore. I know. That's why I asked you for help in the first place. She pulled something from her pocket. A business card. When this is all over, when the trial is done and Gregory is locked away, there will be positions available at Pierce Technologies. Security positions. Not bodyguard work. Legitimate, legal. Well-compensated positions that use your skills, without requiring you to compromise your values. Derek looked at the card without taking it. I'm a mechanic. You're a man who kept me alive when trained killers tried to do the opposite. You're someone who made impossible decisions and still managed to stay on the right side of them. She pressed the card into his hand. Think about it. For Randy's sake, if not your own. The college fund I promised, that's still happening. But you could give him more. A better life. A father who doesn't have to work double shifts at a garage to keep the lights on. She walked away before Derek could respond. He stood there holding the card, watching the police finish processing the scene, thinking about everything that had happened and everything that could have happened differently. His phone rang. Randy's number. Dad? Hank says the police are here. He says you're okay, but I wanted to hear your voice. Derek closed his eyes, let his son's voice wash over him like absolution. I'm okay, buddy. Everything's okay now. I'm coming to get you first thing tomorrow morning, and then we're going home. Promise? Promise. Scout's honor. You're not a scout, Dad. No, but I'm your father, and I always keep my promises to you. They talked for 10 more minutes about nothing important, about the chickens, about a big fish Randy almost caught, about what they'd have for dinner tomorrow night when they were home. Normal things. Safe things. Things that had nothing to do with violence or danger or impossible choices made in warehouses. When Derek finally hung up, he pocketed the phone and Cassandra's business card together. He'd think about her offer. Maybe. But right now, he just wanted to go get his son and drive home and sleep for 16 hours straight. The prosecutor found him before he left. Mr. Walsh, we picked up 2 men watching your friend's farm. They're in custody. Your son was never in real danger. Gregory made it sound, Mr. Pierce is a manipulator. He was trying to break your resolve. It didn't work. She handed Derek her card. You'll need to testify at the trial, probably in 3 to 6 months. Until then, you're free to go. Derek drove back to Hank's farm through darkness. He thought about Patrick Hughes during that drive, about how he'd carried that death for 10 years. But tonight, he'd protected someone without letting them die for it. Maybe that didn't erase Patrick Hughes, but maybe it was a start. He reached Hank's farm at midnight. Randy was asleep on the couch, one arm thrown over his face. Derek stood there looking at his son for a long moment. Hank appeared beside him. You did good, Derek. I broke my vow. You protected your family. There's no vow higher than that. Hank clapped him on the shoulder. The next morning, Derek and Randy left for home. They stopped for lunch at a diner Randy liked. Randy attacked his milkshake while Derek tried not to think about Gregory Pierce in a cell somewhere, or about the trial testimony ahead. Dad? Randy looked at him. Are you okay? You seem sad. Derek ruffled his son's hair. I'm not sad, buddy, just tired. But it's done now. Everything's back to normal. Except it wasn't. Derek had crossed back over a line he'd sworn to stay behind. The fact that it was necessary, that it saved lives, didn't erase what he'd done. But maybe redemption wasn't about becoming perfect. It was about doing the right thing when it mattered most. They got home by late afternoon. Home. Safe. The week was over. Randy went straight to his room to reunite with toys. Derek stood in the kitchen, looking at the ordinary chaos of his ordinary life. His phone buzzed. Text from Patricia. Trial date set for February. Gregory denied bail. Cassandra wants to meet when you're ready. College fund is set up. Another buzz from Hank. You left your tactical knife. Want me to mail it? Derek typed back. Keep it. I won't need it anymore. He hoped that was true. The next weeks passed in a blur of normalcy. Derek went back to work at the garage, fixed cars, pretended the bruises weren't still healing. Randy went back to school with homework and volcano projects. Cassandra called twice. Derek let both go to voicemail. But on the third call, he answered. I understand if you don't want the job. What I asked you to do came at a cost. I made my choices. And because of those choices, Gregory is facing trial. His operation is shut down. Countless people are safe. That matters, Mr. Walsh. The job offer stands. No pressure. But if you don't want it, if you want to keep fixing cars, I understand. Either way, Randy's college fund is secure. Cassandra, one more thing. Patricia found Patrick Hughes' son. Danny. He's 16, living with adoptive parents in Oregon. Doing well, happy, plays baseball, wants to be an engineer. She paused. Patricia thought you should know that the boy is okay. Derek's throat tightened. Knowing the boy was happy made it possible to breathe easier. Thank you. Take care, Mr. Walsh. Think about the offer. The world needs good people doing security work. She hung up. Derek thought about choices and consequences, and whether redemption was something you achieved or just kept working toward. Randy appeared with his textbook. Dad, help with this volcano? Derek smiled. Yeah, buddy, let's figure it out together. They spent the evening building a papier-mâché mountain, making a mess and laughing. Normal things. Later, Derek pulled out Cassandra's card. Security consultant. Stability. A future. He typed a message. Let's meet for that coffee. 3 days later, they talked for 2 hours about the position, head of ethics and compliance, about using his experience to prevent violence rather than participate in it. I'll take it, Derek said, but Randy comes first. Always. Cassandra smiled. Done. Family should come first. Derek started the following Monday. The garage sold to his assistant. Derek moved into his new office and tried to pretend he belonged. Randy adapted fast. Your office is so cool, Dad. The work was challenging, reviewing protocols, training staff on ethical use of technology. Harder than fixing transmissions, but more rewarding. Months passed. Gregory Pierce's trial lasted 3 weeks. Derek testified one afternoon, guilty on all counts, 35 years minimum. Derek watched the verdict beside Cassandra. No victory, just justice. Justice always came at a cost. That night, Derek sat on the back porch, thinking about Patrick Hughes. The guilt was still there, would always be there. But it was lighter now. Manageable. Because he'd done something right. Maybe that was redemption. Not erasing mistakes, but learning to live with them while trying to do better. 6 months later, Derek stood in Randy's school gymnasium watching his son receive an award for his volcano project. 2nd place. Randy beamed, waved with enthusiasm. Derek waved back, chest tight with pride. They stopped for ice cream, their tradition. Sat in the truck eating cones, watching the sunset. Dad, Randy said, are you happy? Derek thought about it. The job was challenging. The past still haunted him. But sitting here with his son, yeah, buddy, I'm happy. You? Randy nodded. I like it better when you're home more. You're nicer now. Derek laughed. Eat your ice cream, philosophical kid. They drove home as darkness fell. Some nights changed everything, but most nights were just nights. Derek was learning to appreciate that. The ordinary, the safe, the predictable rhythm of a life built on better choices. They pulled into the driveway. Randy ran ahead to show Mrs. Chen his award. Derek followed slowly, standing in the October night. Different October. Different year? Different Derek, from the one who'd knelt beside a dying woman on an empty highway. But some things hadn't changed. He was still a father. Still someone trying to do right. Still someone who understood that the road you stepped onto mattered less than where you decided to walk once you were on it. Derek looked up at the stars, then at his house, at the lights burning warm, at the sound of Randy's laughter. And he went inside, to his son, to his home, to his life. Some roads offered no way back. But some roads led exactly where you needed to be.